India's biggest medical entrance exam or India's biggest exam controversy. NEET again is making news headlines due to allegation of insider network being involved in, we can say, the guest papers that almost match the actual question paper in the examination. The question is that IIT JEE that follows similar pattern of examination has remained quite stable. It has not faced similar kind of crisis as NEET, but NEET has kept coming in news every now and then, whether it is the cancellation of examination in 2015 or allegation of 2026 exam paper leak. The biggest question that is in our mind that why NEET is not able to create an ecosystem which can give confidence to people that examination conducted by it would be fair, it would not be it would not be having any kind of issues and problems as such. So let us try to understand in details that the decision to change examination from paper and pen format to computer based testing is going to create changes, significant changes, transformation, or is simply going to just change the nature of problem while problem is still persist. So first of all, let us try to understand why there is a growing trust deficit in NEET. NEET is introduced, and NEET was introduced in year 2013, and since then it has faced repeated controversies and allegations of the exam paper being leaked. So, for example, AIPMD, that's how it was called as in 2015, All India Pre-Medical Test. Re-examination had to be conducted due to the allegation of malpractice. Alleged re-examination measure is going to be taken by NEET again in 2026, as especially for chemistry paper we have seen that almost 100% of questions were from the guest paper that was available to the students before examination itself. And these all allegations, misconduct, gradually leads to erosion of public trust in the entire system of examination, and the integrity of organization to some extent also becomes weaker. And this is very significant in a country where hundreds and thousands of youth are basically putting their entire career on this hope that the examination which they are appearing in is going to be conducted in the fair manner, and they are going to be selected solely on the basis of merit, not on the basis of some cheating. Now, why NEET attracts national attention? The reason is NEET is among India's highest stake examination. There's a report that has made it more controversial is that average students who have scored very less marks in the board examination, they have scored unusually high scores. So there might be some incidences of cheating and leak of exam paper. Similarly, there is a large concentration of toppers from the coaching hubs. That also to some extent indicates that to some extent the coaching institutions who are preparing their candidates for the NEET examination might be involved in the exam paper leak, or there might be some insider network operating at large. National scrutiny due to the medical admission pressure. We know that the hundreds and thousands of students all across India sit in this examination, and through that they secure their seat in the medical institutions. Similar irregularities in JEE and CUET receive less attention because of the participation rate in NEET is much more higher. That is also one way of seeing it. Now, how NEET question papers are prepared? First of all, we have to understand that to see that how paper leak is possible. Subject experts prepare a question. For example, we know there is physics, chemistry, biology. So for each of the subjects, expert prepare their own set of questions. Then questions are reviewed and moderated, and then they are put in the list such as easy, moderate, hard questions and all. Then there has to be difficulty in balancing and syllabus coverage ensured. And 4 sets are prepared, for example, in the NEET in this year 2026 itself. And then papers are translated in 13 languages to cater to the demand of students all across the world, all across India, basically. Sorry. So when we talk about the confidentiality protocols in NEET, there seems to be a separation between paper setting teams, and conflict of interest declaration seems to be mandatory. Now, periodic rotation of expert is also something that NEET follows to ensure that a single person does not have access to the exam paper every year, so that he is not able to use the system and the know-how and the knowledge of the system for his own advantage by selling paper to the bidder for getting the examination question papers. Plus, there is limited access to complete question papers. What NEET states that a person who is preparing examination question paper, they do not know about the entire question that would be given in the exam in the paper, because they have only given access to partial paper as such. Most experts handle only portion of paper. That is how confidentiality is ensured in the NEET examination. Now the question is that shifting from pen and paper to CBT, can it solve the issue that we are facing in NEET? So let us try to understand. First of all, in pen and paper, you have fixed printed paper sets. These paper sets then have to be printed in press, and then physically they have to be transported at different centers, thousands of centers across India. This creates a unique set of challenge for itself, because throughout this entire movement, anywhere there can be a possibility of paper leakage. It can leak from the printing press itself if some internal members are involved, or it can be leaked from the strong rooms where these papers are stored before they can be distributed during the examination to the student as such. Now imagine we shift to the CBT, that is computer based testing system. In that case, large digital question banks will be created, as it is done by many examinations authorities across India. Questions then are selected by computer system algorithmically and then encrypted digital transmissions before examination. Now, if you talk about this particular system itself, there is also possibility of leakage. How? Because before examination, through the encrypted digital transmission, these papers and the questions can be sent to the prospective candidates. So there is a vulnerability in the examination system itself. And the biggest vulnerability lie in the fact there is the involvement of large number of individuals who at different stages of examination have access to the papers as well as question bank. Unless and until you reduce this number to select few, the problem would not disappear. Translation layers further increase exposure risk. If you remember, I told you in NEET, 13 languages are which paper are translated in. So every time when you are translating, you are bringing in new set of people, and these people have then access to the question paper. So it is logical if suppose 100 people know about question, the possibility of leakage is quite higher compared to the case where only 10 to 15 people are aware about the question paper. So the possibility of leak, errors, and conflict of interest becomes quite higher when you have such many translation layers. Insider compromise considered as a major vulnerability, and transmission risk exists in both systems. Again, it does not matter whether you are following paper and pen system or computer based system. In both cases, paper can be leaked. Only the method of leaking and the place of leaking might differ. So when talk about 2026 chemistry guest paper controversy, let us look at this example. Guest paper reportedly matched actual chemistry paper. It included both solutions and answer keys. So many experts now argue that because in the guest paper solutions, answer keys, and some other alternative questions were given, it is possible that question did not leak. The question paper was not leaked. Rather, the person who is behind this leak had access to the entire question itself, and from there he basically has transferred the question. NTA referred sitters and translator to CBI. CBI now has taken charge of this entire investigation. So NTA, National Testing Agency, it has referred all the chemistry question paper sitters and the translator to CBI because they might be to some extent involved here. Translators form majority of individuals under scrutiny because again 13 different languages, large number of translator. It suggests a possible access to question bank material from where then question was transferred to the coaching institute as such, who then distributed it to candidates at high prices. So the question is, can computer-based test fully prevent leaks? The answer is no. CBT removes printed paper transportation risk, but it cannot prevent insider leaks from question bank. Imagine if insiders are involved here, they have access to question bank. It does not matter whether they are looking at the question bank on computer screen and then the students will appear on the computer system, or whether they are looking at on the paper format and students will give examination paper format. The thing to keep in mind here is that they have access to the material, and this material then they can easily export means send out to the prospective candidates, prospective buyer. New cyber security and server risk would emerge if you switch to the computer based system, because again you have to bring in some third party who will handle this entire exam management. Dependence on software vendors increases vulnerability as well, as leakage might occur from their end also. Technology thus alone cannot ensure integrity unless and until the entire system itself is modified. And we can take example of IIT JEE, how it has become more stable and has remained free of controversy over years of examination. So if you look at the IIT JEE model, what is different in this model compared to NEET? The first difference is the number of individuals involved in the question paper setting and its translation. IIT JEE only translates question paper into language from English to Hindi all across India. And that is something experts argue NEET should also follow, as they say that majority of students who are appearing after class 12, they have working knowledge of English and they can use English or Hindi to give examination without affecting their preparation and quality of the answer as such. IIT faculty also play a very important role here, and IIT has provided a greater in-house control in the entire exam management, which is missing in NEET, and there are dependency on large number of outsourced party in the NEET examination. Limited translation exposure is the biggest biggest risk drawdown in the IIT examination system. The strong academic oversight is seen, where IIT faculty directly supervise the operations of the entire 3-4 stages of examination that you have. So similar system should be followed in the NEET examination as well. The key structure problem here to discuss is excessive outsourcing of sensitive operations. Obviously, people here are basically more and more people are being involved here, so the leakage chance increases. Weak accountability mechanism. Coaching center linkages also is being explored in the current investigation, that they might be paying money to some insiders who are involved in the entire process and system to get the questions. Institutional protection concern is there as well. Plus, over reliance on surveillance and technology solution is not going to uh, plug the loophole unless and until entire system itself is transformed. The question is that how this transformation can be achieved. What can be the possible way forward to carry out reform in the NEET system? First is minimize human access to complete paper. That means you have to ensure that any individual at any stage of the question paper making is not exposed to large number of questions that is going to be asked in examination. So partial exposure is what we have to focus upon. Second, use secure machine assisted translation. Today we are living in the era of artificial intelligence, where dependency on the workforce, labor workforce, human workforce to translate from one language to other language is quite less. That means we can use AI here or machine based translation to minimize the possibility of leakage. Third, enforce strict conflict of interest rule. If someone is involved to some extent in some coaching institutions and all that, and they also are becoming part of the system itself, question paper setting system itself, then they have to declare it. Or maybe it is possible someone is involved in this entire system and his or her relatives might be appearing in examination. That is the clear-cut example of conflict of interest. Such individual should not be made part of the system. Next is rotate experts regularly to ensure that a person does not uses the internal connections and the know-hows to basically violate the integrity of the system. Increase the academic ownership and supervision. This is the example we can clearly take from the IIT JEE system, which should be emulated at the NEET level also. Strengthen accountability as well as transparency in the entire system. If we are able to do so, similar like IIT JEE, NEET can also become an examination of integrity where people, especially students, can then be confident that their work, their labor, their years of preparation which they are putting in examination, it actually yields to the fruit. That's all for this particular video. Thank you very much.